Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a step further in genetic engineering. In the recent advancement in human technology, is this something which is going to help us in our human evolution? Are we going to become better human beings with the help of genetic engineering? Or will it be a doom to use genetic engineering for our betterment because we're trying to play God? And the new technology that we're going to talk about is an advancement and it's affordable. What is this new technology or technique that we're talking about? Let's discuss it further. Stay with us till the end of the video and we'll know why. Let's start with my point of view. Before we start with the video, it's important for those people to know what is genetic engineering. There may be certain very small percentage of people who will not be aware of it. So let me define genetic engineering in a very layman's language, not using any technical abbreviation like DNA and things like that. Now, genetic engineering is a technology of editing or altering the genes in human or any other living organism. Now, genes, as you know, are the building blocks of any organism. So we're using technology to actually alter it or change it for our betterment. Essentially, you can say that it is a manipulation. It is a manipulation, is an alteration of what is naturally available. But this is something that we do in our betterment. But a manipulation can be a good or bad, depending upon who is using it, what is the purpose of it, and how far we are playing with the nature. So in today's video, we're going to look at some of the history for our understand purpose. Then we're going to talk about this new technology. And then we're going to talk about whether it is really good to proceed with that technology, what are the repercussions or what are the harmful effects that we have today. Let's start. Now, genetic engineering started somewhere in 1970s. In 1972, Paul Berg, he created the first genetically modified molecule using a monkey virus. That's the time. From there on, the research just continued. 1973 was the year when the first genetically modified bacteria was created. Now, from creating a genetically modified bacteria in 1973, that they call it GMO, genetically modified organism, the research continued to animals, it continued to plants, and also it came down to the creation of insulin. And very recently, the genetically modified crops. There has been a lot of discussion about genetically modified food. This is a topic that we need to talk about sometime later in a different video. It's not in the purview of this, but that's where the genetically modification actually continued and the research continued. Very recently, when I say very recent, in 1994, there was a genetically modified tomato which came in the market. It had a longer shelf life because it used to rot late. So it was commercially viable. Not only this, now the genetic engineering is actually progressing real good because it got commercialized way back in 1980s when the first patent was given. So you see, nowadays you will find a lot of products in the market, a lot of even living organisms in the market which are genetically modified. Not just the food that you eat, but also the fish that you look at, something that you keep in your house. Because of these reasons, and also because the other auxiliary technologies are progressing real fast, so it also impacted the genetic engineering in such a way that now you can see there are a lot of discussions going on and there are actually real products coming into the market which are genetically modified. Every year almost you see a new organism which is created with the help of genetic engineering. maybe a fish which will glow, so, or a vegetable which would be more resistant to certain kind of insects. So these modifications are now going more. So there's genetically modified sheep, monkeys. There are so many experiments going on, and there have been talks of actually using the genetic engineering to clone not only just the animals but also human beings, and to make us better so that in the future we become better human beings, live a disease-free life. That's what it's looking at. So let's talk about why now, because now is the time which is really important. Now is the time because we are at the crisp of the technology where it's going to be impactful, and there's no holding back after that, because the technologies which are getting involved in genetic engineering are becoming more and more affordable, are becoming comparatively easy to use. If you have a decent laboratory, that's something that you can use in your testing of the genetically modified, whatever you need to do with that. So let's talk about, there are different technologies, but today's focus would be more around a technology which has made this possible, which has brought a silent revolution in genetic engineering. This technology is called CRISPR, CRISPR, which stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats. Well, it took me some time to remember that. Okay, anyways, so how does it work? What is this? Now, this technology is actually based on those bacteria which survived the viral attack. So they created a mechanism into themselves which helped them survive. And that's something that we are going to use for our betterment in genetic engineering. So how it works is, so bacteria creates a copy of the viral DNA, which it uses to actually repair the impacted part of that genome. In other words, so whatever part of the genome is affected, it creates a copy of the viral DNA, and it just takes the affected part out, and it switches that with the copy of the healthy one. So that's what is altogether the CRISPR that we're talking about, the technology. So this is something that scientists in genetic engineering have learned from bacteria, and they are using it as a new technology. It's been very, very successful, but even though it's very successful, it has brought many revolutionary changes, and still it is considered a nascent stage because the potential is immense using the CRISPR. But also, we need to keep in mind that this is going more affordable, becoming easy to use. So there are people, maybe evil people, who can use it for their sinister purpose. So we need to be mindful of that. So essentially you see that we are trying to play God, because we are creating a mechanism within an organism to fight a particular disease. So hence, this is going to be very useful to fight off cancer. So those who have cancer, this is something which is going to be of immense value. It can create an everlasting cure for cancers. There are also diseases where this can come into play, but we have to see how it folds up. Now, genetic engineering can actually give us eternal youth, disease-free, and a healthy life. Are we trying to play God here? Very close to our home, we can see that it has given rise to the organic modified crops and the vegetations. So you have genetically modified crops which comes in your market, and you see there is a new market which has opened up, which is called organic food, basically, which does not have the genetically modified products or the crops in there. So that's the impact that it's having in our society, and which is just the beginning. But the critics say that the genetically modified versions are not that good. It sounds good only in principle, in theory, but it not just fights off diseases, but it is actually more susceptible to diseases. There are viruses, if you make them deadly, it can become a vital biological weapon, which is not desired. Now, with all these to's and fro's, people, talking in favor of this and people who are against it, one thing is for sure, that there's no stopping it. It is going to grow even further. What best we can do is we can bring some kind of regulation on this and ensure this is used only for human good. This should be used to cure certain diseases. The National Academy of Sciences in 2002 actually came out with a report in which they supported the ban of human cloning. They wanted to make it legal. Such is an impact of this. Now, there are governments who are actually, they have their own regulations. US government have their own regulation. The Canadian government have their own regulation. The EU have their own regulation, and India, China, Brazil, there are many countries, they have their own regulation. There is no consistency on this. Going by the current policies which are available, EU is supposedly they actually follow the strictest norms when it comes to the genetically modified options that's available. However, if you talk about certain other countries, they allow the import of the GM crops or the vegetation, but they don't allow to productionize this. There are a few countries which allows the productionization of the genetically modified vegetation or the crops in their soil. So it differs. But nonetheless, there is a vital need to come up with a global body which governs all these countries. Maybe it can be part of the United Nations. There are initiatives which are actually going on, but this has to materialize and make it firmer under control, because now the question is about human cloning. Now, also in another discussion, there are enthusiasts of genetic engineering. They want to have the genetically modified babies, and they can ensure that those babies do not have the hereditary drawbacks which their parents used to have. So essentially, in the evolution, we are getting better human beings who are more resistant to diseases, who are healthier, who are muscular, who are better in every respect that you can think about. That's all we have for today. I'm just leaving you with one question in mind. Would you like to play God? If yes, what would you like to see in here? How far genetic engineering can help? Can we become replaceable with nature? If yes, we should go ahead. If no, then what are the costs involved before we reach the final destination? What if this becomes a doom to human civilization because it falls into the wrong hands, it falls into the evil minds, and they make use of it in a wrong way? Just think about it. Thank you for staying so far. Subscribe and leave your comment below. It was nice having you. Thank you.